Okay, so let's look at working with viewports. Previously, I've shown you how to draw, how to do a sheet layout, and we've basically put a border and a title block. Then we've added some of these annotations: name, registration number, title, group date, and an area where you can put your name, registration number, title, group, and date. So now what you're going to do is to add viewports where we can display various objects that we have in our model space. Okay, so far we have these objects, so I'm going to add viewports so that we can see like some of the objects. Okay, so for that, before we proceed, let's first create a new layer. As you can see here, we only have one layer, layer 0, so let's first create a new layer. By that, you click layer properties, then there's this icon over here, the new layer icon. So I'm just going to name this viewport, and we don't need to worry about line type, line weight, and so on and so forth. So go ahead and close that. I'll go to layout 1, so click layout and then go to this rectangular viewport. We can, of course, there are other sizes that we can use, but rather shapes. Let's just go with rectangular. Okay, that's the first one. So I'm going to draw out an area somewhere here, about that much, and then what I'm going to do is to I'm going to double click inside, so that now if I attempt to zoom, it's only that inside that viewport, it's like a window that sees whatever is in the model space. Okay, so yeah, that's one way of looking at it. So if you double click in that window, you can choose to focus on an object that you are interested in. And we can get rid of the grid. So we have that, and yeah, so as you zoom in and out, you notice there's a scale here, scale of the selected viewport. Click to adjust the scale. So each time you zoom, the scale also changes. So depending on, you can choose to display the object by scale. So what I mean is that you can have the actual dimension here, if you were to measure it with a ruler, like the dimension on the paper, and then you add a scale so that you reference that let's say one drawing unit is worth 10, one paper unit is worth 10 drawing units. Okay, yeah, assuming the actual drawing has 10 units, then on paper you are representing the 10 by 1 unit. So now it's like you have let's say, assume the distance from here to here on this paper is about 10 millimeters. Then that means the object is 100 millimeters, the actual distance. So that's the scale of 1 to 10. Okay, simply divide by 10 basically. So it's the same way as saying 1 paper unit is equal to 10 drawing units. Okay, drawing, I mean the drawing that you have in your model space, because this is like actual units. Okay, if you are to measure them, they are actual units, but on paper they will be different because of the scale you are using to represent the drawing. So we could choose to make it standard. Instead of using those points, we can choose to be 1 to 2. So that's 1 to 2. Yeah, 1 to 2, or at appears to be very small. Okay, so let me just try. I have to double click inside, then the scale reappears. So let me try 1 to 1. Okay, maybe 1 to 1 will work for us. So double click outside, select the viewport and try to adjust the size to see if we can see our drawing. Okay, so yeah, now we can hit escape. So now one drawing unit is equal to one paper unit is equal to one drawing unit. So that's what this scale means. Okay, this scale 1 to 1. Okay, so yeah, well, that's one object. We can go ahead and add another object. So simply go to layout, rectangular. I'm going to add another viewport. I'll just put it right next to this one. I don't see any problem with that. So somewhere there. Okay, now let me focus on this object. So double click inside, zoom in and focus on that object. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'll set the scale 1 to 1. Okay, so 1 to 1. I'm going to simply drag it out to, it doesn't matter, it can go into the other one because we're going to make those lines disappear afterwards, so that doesn't matter. Okay, I think that's good enough. So we have those two objects, so we can add a third object. Yeah, we can add a third object. So again, I'll take rectangular and I'll draw from here. I'll just put it here. So this time around I'm going to put this. So I'll focus and show this object. So that scale is about 0.5, so that's like 1 to okay, it's more like 2 to 1, right? Okay, 2 to 1 is the opposite, so sorry, yeah, it should be like 1 to 2. Okay, yeah, that's what I meant, 1 to 2. So one drawing unit is worth 2 one paper unit is worth 2 drawing units. Okay, so meaning 1 millimeter on paper represents 2 millimeters of the actual drawing. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. Okay, because here we had try to measure that object. Check distance from center to center. Measure. So from this center to that center is 100. So if that is 100, then that means okay, I need to escape first. So that means if we were to print out this A3 paper and measure the ruler, the distance with a ruler, the distance from here to here, and it's going to be 50. Okay, because that is the scale we are using. So yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, but since we'll be having dimensions, then well, it doesn't really matter. What the most important thing is representing the scale of the drawing on paper. Yeah, like that is all, because you will have the actual dimensions anyway. Okay, yeah, at some point when you have to make the actual drawing. Yeah, so sometimes this viewport scale is not that important. Okay, since you already have the dimensions of the object. Okay, so double click outside. Now we have those 3 objects. So now the other thing is we want to make the lines disappear so that this thing does not interfere with with the drawing. We only want to be left with the drawing, so select these 3 viewports and we are going to change them to the viewport layer. Simply select and click viewport. So now they are inside the viewport layer. So if you want to see that they belong to that layer, you can select them, or 3 of them, and you see that the layer name here is viewport layer. Okay, so what we're going to do, we just freeze that layer. When you freeze it, those lines disappear. Okay, so the lines disappear. Now we can choose to add we can choose to add the view the annotation, like to show that the scale here is 1 to 1, also here 1 to 1, and here 1 to 2. Yes. Okay, so we are going to add viewport scale here by simply using this. We can use the single line text tool. Alright, so I'll simply put, I'll try single line text right here. We'll just put object 1. Just put object 0, 1. And we can put viewport scale. We can actually just put scale. Scale is 1 to 1. Here is 1 to 1. And object 2. The scale here is also 1 to 1. Then we can have object 3. That's object 3. And the scale is 1 to 2. Okay, now we can hit escape and we can try to make it look a little bit stylish by adding a simple line, kind of to like separate between the text. Okay, yes, I'll simply copy this. I'll just copy that and paste it here. And also paste it here. And yeah, I think that's a bit much more presentable, so let me go ahead and save that. Yeah, so these are our objects, and set to 1 to 1. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and print this out. Yeah, so we simply print. I'll just put it okay, click OK. I'll put it on my desktop. Yeah, I'll just put it there, desktop. Save. Yeah, it's done printing, and this is what I have. Okay, this is in PDF format. If I try to zoom in and see my objects, this is what I have. Okay, so I've printed my objects with the scales. So if I was to actually print on paper, I can easily simply measure the distances and try to reproduce the actual object, okay, as if it's a mechanical object of some sort that you need to construct. Right, so yeah, that's it for this one.